Today is Acts chapter 16, and we have Paul and Silas are on their way through Galatia, and they meet a disciple named Timothy who lives with his mother, who was Jewish, and the father was Greek. And the believers at Lystra and Iconium spoke well at him. Now, this was the same place that tried to stone him and also stoned him before, and now he's gone back. There's a church that is established. These are, some time has passed now. It's not like the next year. There's been time, okay? All of these things take time. We're not given time, but these things have taken time. So this church has been established in these areas, and we've got disciples, especially this one named Timothy, whose mother was Jewish and whose father was Greek. And so Paul wanted to take him along on the journey. He's probably 15, 16 at this time, maybe younger. And he circumcises him because the Jews who lived in that area, for they all knew that his father was a Greek. Okay. A lot of people were like, wait a minute, I thought they didn't have to be circumcised. Why is Paul circumcising? That goes against what he was saying. Okay, sure, yes, okay. One of the things we have to remember, and one of the things, there's a lot of reasons why Paul may have done this. Paul may have done this because it would have allowed Timothy to enter into, they're traveling, he'd enter into synagogues and stuff without any issues. There's that. Could have been that, maybe he didn't want to just deal with further controversy, so it's possible that that's why they did it. Another reason is maybe Timothy wanted to convert to Judaism. It may have been Timothy's desire to do that. Who knows? So in the end, what we know is that Timothy is just this example of just harmony and love, and like either way, it doesn't matter. Either way, it doesn't matter. And Paul's able to hold the tension of whether he circumcises Timothy and delivering a message saying that you don't have to be circumcised. Like, at the end of the day, it's not a have to. It's not a have to. And he holds that tension, and he holds it well. So Paul they're going to go into Galatia. They're preaching throughout Galatia, but the Holy Spirit keeps them from preaching the word in the province of Asia. Okay, so again, I'm gonna get out my map, and this is the second missionary journey, so I'm gonna turn the page. They are here. This is Asia right here. Okay, this whole part is Asia Minor, and they are here. This is Derbe here. This is Galatia up here, Cappadocia, all that's they've come this way, right? And for whatever reason, they cannot continue. They're trying to figure out, they're here and they cannot continue further. They kind of they're thinking they're going to come back up here. But what happens is that they receive a vision, and the Lord closes the doors. We don't know exactly what that means. We don't know, right? But during the night, Paul has a vision of a man in Macedonia, and he's begging him, come over to Macedonia and help us. And so they get ready to leave. And notice here, it says, help us. Paul, seeing the vision, we got ready at once to leave for Macedonia, concluding that God had called us. Now there's an us and a we. The verbiage has changed. Luke is also traveling with them at this point. So Luke has been with them from the missionary journey. Where did Luke come from? We don't know. But he is a trusted traveler of Paul, okay? Paul sees the vision and he goes. And they, from Troas, so that's at the sea, we put out to sea and sailed straight to Samothrace, and the next day to Neapolis, where we traveled to Philippi. Okay, so notice here where we're going. We're here, this is Troas right here. You can't see it, but you can, and they come here. And this is Macedonia and the Philippi, okay? And that means that they are in Europe. So this is the first time that they're in Europe, and we're gonna have European conversions, right? Here they are, they're in Philippi. It's a Roman colony. Okay, so Philippi is very Roman. These people have, Rome they're a part of Rome. They're in Europe, they're a part of Rome. And what had happened was that they became a Roman colony, meaning that anybody who was born there became a Roman citizen, and they were granted Roman citizenships. So they really exalt Rome quite a bit, and they're very wealthy in Philippi. Why? Well, if you're a Roman citizen, you don't have to pay taxes to Rome. It's all the other countries that are paying the taxes and they're pushed down by Rome. But as a Roman citizen, you don't have to. And so this is very, very helpful to people. Obviously, if you don't have to pay taxes or the taxes are very minimal, then you're going to make a lot more money, right? And so you've got all of these people who are wealthy and all of these people who are Roman citizens, and they've just got a little bit extra privilege, you could say. Okay, and so here we have this woman who is a dealer of purple cloth. Purple was an extreme, a great commodity. And we know purple is important. Why? Because again, she's in a Roman town, a Roman colony. She probably herself is a Roman, and she deals in purple cloth, and that is the cloth of kings. And so therefore, she deals with people who are of higher learning, higher education, higher just riches, all of that stuff, especially in government. And purple was associated with kings. Everybody knows that. And so this means that she's important, and she deals with important people, even though she's a merchant, which is really interesting because she's a woman. And nowhere do we see her husband or a man in the situation. In fact, this whole place that they are, all it talks about is women who had gathered here. There are no men who have gathered, only women. So that's interesting, right? One of those listening was a woman of Thyatira named Lydia, a dealer in purple cloth. And she was a worshiper of God. That's a very interesting point as well. She worships God, the true God. So something in her life occurred. She's from Thyatira, which is on the other side of the world. And she's moved here to Macedonia, to Philippi, and she is a worshiper of God. What happened to Lydia? How did she become a worshiper of God, right? The Lord opened her heart to respond to Paul's message. When she and the members of the household were baptized, her whole household, she invited us to her home, and she persuaded us to stay with them. Okay, so she is the very first convert to Christianity in Europe. Pretty cool. So Paul and Silas are there, and they are in Philippi. They continue to stay in Philippi, and there's a female slave who she's possessed by a demon, basically, and she can fortune tell. And so she's calling out to them, and for days she's following them, and she's like, listen to them. Jesus, he's telling them how to be saved. And she's speaking truth, which is crazy. But Paul turns around. She's kind of annoying. He turns around. He's like, in the name of Jesus, command you to come out of her. Well, unfortunately, she made a lot of money fortune telling for her owners. And now she can't, because the demon that was telling the future is no longer in her. And so all of the people get upset. And Paul and Silas are flogged. Here's the problem. And they're sent into prison, right? Big whoops. Remember, it is a Roman colony. They really, really uphold the values, the morals, and the laws of Rome. They've been given privilege. Well, guess who else has privilege? This is where we find out that Paul and Silas are Roman citizens. Roman citizens, and we'll find out later that it's Roman citizens by birth. At least that's Paul. I don't know about Silas. By birth, meaning that he was born into it. He is a born Roman citizen, right? It's like being an American citizen comes with an embassy in most countries, comes with privileges and rights and freedoms, right? Well, that's the same thing for these Roman citizens. In fact, much of our government is based on Roman ideas and Roman government, right? And so you can't just, as an American citizen here in America, especially, right, you're not just thrown into jail for no reason. There is due process, right? You have certain unalienable rights, right? And you have the Miranda rights. You will be given a lawyer. If you can't afford a lawyer will be given to you, all that stuff, right? You have the right to remain silent, blah, blah, blah. The same sort of rights are given to Paul and Silas as Roman citizens. They can't just be thrown in jail. There is due process. They can't just be whipped and flogged. There is due process for Roman citizens. Okay. So here they are in jail, and their feet are in stocks, right? Which is not good. And they begin to sing praises. They begin to worship God. Suddenly there was a violent earthquake, and the doors flew open, and the jailer woke up. He saw the prison doors open. He was about to kill himself, but Paul shouts, "Don't harm yourself." Now, notice the difference between when Paul is here in jail and when Peter was in jail. When Peter was in jail, remember, it was the intention of the people. The intention of the people is what was the biggest problem. And therefore, God took Peter out of jail and through an angel, and God left the guards to deal with their circumstances and with their consequences. Here, the guard becomes saved. And that's going to be a lot of Paul's mission, actually. Paul, what we know from church history is every single person who guarded Paul became saved. Like that was just, part of like his, you call prison ministry, right? And so, but the difference was why? Why? Because the intention of the hearts of the people. Here, the jailer said, "What do I have to do to become saved?" God sees their hearts. Paul says, "Believe in the Lord, your whole household." And then the jailer takes him, he washes their wounds, and the whole house is baptized, right? So that was the difference. It's the intention of the heart. It's the intention of the heart. So during the day, they realize they're going through the records, and the magistrate's like, "Uh-oh, we're in trouble." And they're like, "What's going on?" They're like, "They're Roman citizens." Oops-a-daisy. And so Paul says, "Yeah, you beat us without a trial. Even though we're Roman citizens, you threw us into prison, and now you want to get rid of us quietly? I don't think so. Let them come themselves and escort us out. We aren't leaving in quiet. Everyone's going to know." Why? Again, because they're in Philippi, and in Philippi, being a Roman and being, and there's rules and there's laws that are super, super important. And if you don't follow these things, that is not okay. And so he wants everyone to know, so everyone be like, "Oh, y'all are wrong. Y'all did bad," right? So the officers reported this to magistrates, and they figured that out. They were like, "Oh my gosh," they appeased them. They escorted them out. They requested them to leave the city. And Paul and Silas came to the prison. They came out of the prison. They went to Lydia's house, and they met with the brothers and the sisters, and then they left. We're not given a certain timeline. Did they leave an hour later? Did they leave days later? We don't know. But it's very similar to a great study would be to look at Paul's escape from prison and Peter's escape from prison and Paul and Silas's escape from prison, and kind of counter them, because they're very different. They're very different, but there's a lot of truth and a lot of different things to take out of this, which is pretty cool.